most of the people that are actually here in this session is quite familiar with the way of doing it. And I'm just going to write it up here. We're going to use science to do this thing. You're here and you have a theory for what it should be. You've got that's your plan there. You've got this theory about how it should be. And you'd love to be able to just jump straight there, but you're resource constrained. So what you actually do is you do an experiment here, right? And this is where the analogy probably starts to break down for the purists. And this is the way they talk about it in, say, the lean startup. You do an experiment here, right? And that's normally talked about as the MVP. And we'll dig into this a little bit more later, but the minimum viable product, okay? You're doing an experiment, or the minimum viable experiment, for lack of a better term. You're doing something there. And what you're trying to do is work out whether you should do that properly or whether you should do it at all. Properly is a bit of a loaded term. So whether you should continue in that way. Now there's 3 outcomes from this. You do the experiment here. There's a yes, Peter, keep going. There's a, oh God, no, Peter, stop. It's not going to work, right? And then there's a 3rd outcome, which is we have absolutely no idea, we didn't learn anything, right? In the context of this, the purpose of the MVP is first up to work out whether it's that one. And if it's that one, which is, yeah, absolutely do it, that's great, okay? Now, confusingly to a lot of people, and not so much in the science community, but confusing to a lot of people, is that if we work out we shouldn't do it, like we absolutely shouldn't do it or can't do it, that's still great as well, right? That's still a really good outcome, because what we've just done then is we have saved that effort. And that should be celebrated, right? That's excellent. We've constructed knowledge that this thing here is not the right thing to do yet for these reasons, okay? The only way you can fail in executing this thing is to do an experiment that brings no information for you. And you have to do another one, right? You've wasted your time, and that's the waste that you're concerned about. So you may well see it framed this way every now and again. So the first thing that we're searching for is, what should we build? Okay, so that's the customer facing stuff, right? And the way that you'll hear that talked about is desirability, or what's desirable. Okay, and that's your customer interviews and all that sort of stuff. And remember, the problem with that is that they lie, right? And it's not because they're lying, it's because they don't have the vocab to express the things that they need. And also they've got no idea what you can do. So that's all your customer research and the start of your business problem, right? Now, where the majority of you, I assume, are actually extremely well versed is over in the next part over here, which is what's feasible. Okay, you're world experts, if you've got a PhD by definition, in what's feasible and what's not feasible. Okay, and you can think about that as what can we do? Right now, we're already starting to see part of the problem here. The fact that you can do something over here, while wonderful, while incredibly important, and by definition, it's probably adding to the edge of human knowledge over there of what can be done, right? What's feasible. If it's not in here, nobody wants it, right? And part of what you're trying to do here is actually build a business that can bring the resources in so you can do the things that you need to do, as opposed to solve this. So the problem that when you're doing the business stuff that you're trying to solve is different than the problem that you're solving with the feasibility thing. And we'll come back with an example on that in a minute. Now, that gets a little bit harder again, because what you're actually looking for here is a 3rd constraint that you've got, and it's what's viable. And the way to think of that from the customer perspective is, what will they pay for?